Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw.
Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Brews. Not gonna lie to you, I am locked in and just ready to deliver just MTG experience, Commander experience. And if you like Evereth, Viceroy of Plunder, or actually you will like Evereth, Viceroy of Plunder, because if you are a rakdos type of player or learning to become a rakdos player, this commander highlights going into combat. And if something happens to her, such as a death trigger, or she has a death trigger actually, your opponents pay the price. So, what do I mean by that? The feel overall is you want to attack with this commander quickly, often, power booster, and just say, accidentally, if she dies, all your opponents die. Isn't that kind of like spiteful in a way? Anyways, Evereth Viceroy of Plunder from the MTG Foundations set. I'm about to enlarge the screen to make her bigger and more visible for her to see, for you, the abilities. Let's get started. Okay, for 3 mana, 2 colors, and a black. She's a 2/2 vampire soldier, flying. She says, sacrifice another creature or artifact. Put a +1/+1 counter on Evereth Viceroy of Plunder. If the sacrifice permanent was a treasure, Evereth gains lifelink until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. When Evereth dies, you may pay 2 mana, rakdos or 1. When you do, Evereth deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. Let's unpack this. If I'm building this, I would definitely like to highlight putting treasure tokens on the battlefield because I want her to have lifelink. Why I want her to have lifelink is because the more life I have, the longer I live. Duh. Duh, right? But anyway, you want to start sacrificing other creatures and artifacts and make her bigger. But that's not the only way you can do that. You can make her Voltron. You can make equipments that are also artifacts to sacrifice and put +1/+1 counters on. But also, you can use her as a sacrifice outlet. So if you need a creature to die, you can use her ability to sacrifice the creature or the artifact. She has multiple purposes here, and it doesn't even tap for mana. And also know she's rakdos colors. That's red and black players. Also, when she gets destroyed, you pay 2 mana. You deal damage to each opponent equal to her power. So if you gave her +5/+5 randomly, some way, somehow, they're taking 7 damage. Also, little pro tip, there's this thing called fire breathing. Fire breathing allows you to tap red mana and boost a creature's power at instant speed. Now, let's say an opponent tries to destroy your creature, Evereth. You just boost her power up instantaneously and everybody takes 8 damage. Let's get into some cards while you're deck building it. I feel like I hyped her up just a little bit to get y'all hooked on building this. I'm done rambling. Let's go. First off, this card from the Lord of the Rings set goes crazy. Meaning that's crazy good. Meaning crazy good is a really good card to have. And this is a permanent, meaning permanent stay on the battlefield. Spiteful Banditry says tap X and 2 red mana. It is an enchantment. When Spiteful Banditry enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to each creature. That is a burn spell. You can wipe the board with this spell, right? But it also says whenever one or more creatures your opponent's control die, you create a treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn. That's okay. Don't be afraid of once each turn, because each turn that's not your turn, that's possibly 3 turns. And creatures die all the time because players are going to combat, players are blocking, players are attacking, players are sacrificing creatures, players are forced to sacrifice creatures. Creatures get removed, which wouldn't count. Exiling does not count. Also, hold on. Remove is the same thing as exiling. So whenever I say remove, that's like exile. All right. So I always need to say death, die trigger, kill. But anyway, this card is really good because it is an enchantment that ramps you, which red does Not the best, but it's going to create a treasure token, which is what you want to have with Evereth. Because whenever you sacrifice a treasure token, she gets lifelink. Only do this at sorcery speed. We're not done yet. Academy Manufacturer for 3 mana, 1/3 artifact creature, assembly worker. If you would create a clue, food, or treasure token, instead create one of each. This is essentially a token increaser by +2. So if you make a treasure token, you get a clue token and a food token. That's 3 artifacts that you can sacrifice to boost Evereth's power. Come on, y'all. This synergy, artifact synergy here. Moving on. I don't need to elaborate anymore. So we got Rankle and Torbran. If you never played against this commander is a pain in the ass because it has so many abilities. And just because it says each player does something doesn't mean it only hurts you. Doesn't mean it only helps you. It doesn't mean it only hurts one person. It doesn't mean it doesn't help only one person. It adds an element to the game where some people are involved and some people are not involved at this moment in time. But it puts the pressure on, can you take advantage of this? And the reason why it's rakdos colors because rakdos is trying to kill your opponents quickly and instantly through a punishing type of feel, a punishing type of vibe. Generally, when you do something, pain, 5 damage. Do something else, 7 damage. So let me get into the commander. 5 mana, 2 black, 2 red, 1 colorless, fairy dwarf legendary, 3/4 body, flying, first strike, haste. Wow, that's a lot. I'm not even reading the text yet. It also says whenever Rankle and Torbran deals combat damage to a player or battle, choose any number. Each player creates a treasure token. Each player sacrifices a creature. If a source would deal damage to a player or battle this turn, it deals that much damage +2 instead. So this is a damage increaser and group hug type of commander. And when you see all these 3 abilities, you can choose 1, you can choose 2, you can choose 3. It is your choice. Get creative with it. And don't get creative. Don't be afraid to give other players treasure tokens. I think playing against other players, if you're apprehensive, you don't want to give treasure tokens to players. That's okay. Give another player a treasure token because they're in the game and they can help you out in a way you didn't think because you gave them 1 mana of any color. Don't be afraid. Like I said, we're locked in. Thank you for watching this video so far. Evereth Viceroy is an awesome commander. I like rakdos a lot, so this is coming from straight from the heart. Goldwarden's Gambit, 6 colors, 2 red, sorcery, affinity for equipment. This spell costs 1 color less for each equipment you control. Remember, Evereth could be a Voltron commander, so if you have a bunch of equipments on the battlefield, this card is for you. This is a must include. It says create 5 2/2 red rebel creature tokens. They gain haste until end of turn. For each of these tokens, you may attach an equipment you control to it. Let's unpack this. Essentially, at the best possibility, this card could cost 2 red mana. Also, a little pro tip. In red, sometimes you want high CMC cards to do damage because spells do damage equal to the card's mana value. Blah, 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 blah. This is one of those cards. It costs 8, but you never really want to pay 8 for this. And also, don't be shy if you have 3 or 4 artifacts on the battlefield. That's good. If you have 3 on the battlefield, you're only paying 5 mana for creating 5 2/2 rebel creature tokens that have haste. That's a total of 10 power. Okay, y'all not hearing me. Y'all not hearing me. Y'all not hearing me. If you pay 5 mana for this spell, you get a total of 10 power with haste coming out of player. That's an efficient rate. Then also it attached equipments to those rebels. So this is almost a late game card. Because you can attach all those equipments for free. Like the freaking Hammer of Anusalan, whatever. Or the one that gives +10/+10. For free? Are you kidding me? But anyway, remember, you can sacrifice those 2/2 rebel creatures to make Evereth bigger. But this is kind of like a haymaker card that can win you the game. There's a lot of players hanging around that 10 life that if you had haste, you know how many times you said, if my creatures had haste, you'd be dead. So here we got Untimely Malfunction. The reason why I'm recommending this card because if you're new to Magic, red is a good color to change the target of a spell or a ability, right? You generally want to do that in red because that is their form of instant removal besides a lightning bolt or dealing 2 damage to a creature. Nowadays, most powerful creatures are not 2 toughness. I promise you. I promise you, they're nastier now. But anyway, Untimely Malfunction is a 2 mana instant. It says choose one. Destroy target artifact. Yeah. Think about those players with the greatest hinge. Up 2 mana is gone, player. Also, it says change the target of spell or an ability with a single target. That ability is crazy powerful. Because let's say there's a Avatar War in the battlefield, and it says tap, destroy target creature, and they want to target your Evereth. You say, I tap 2 mana, Untimely Malfunction on your Avatar Woe, and destroy your Avatar Woe. You can imagine the hate going across that player's face that thought they had your creature, player. Not today. Not today. That's why you need to add Untimely Malfunction. The card's name is perfect. Also, it has the ability 1 or 2 target creatures can't be blocked this turn. Or 1 or 2 target creatures can't block this turn. Sorry. So, if you're swinging for commander damage for the win, and they got 2 chump blockers are 1/1 creatures that they think is going to be safe. Nah, tap 2 mana, Untimely Malfunction. They cannot block. You swinging for commander damage, you win the match. Ooh, victory is so sweet. Add this card to your deck, please. So we are on to the last card. This card you probably missed. This is another deck tech pro tip for rakdos players. You want to see more cards, right? That's what you need to do in rakdos. Impulse, impulse, impulse. Need to see, need to see. If I don't have this card, I may not win this match, but I need to see if my deck has this card and if I can draw this card. Ignite the Future is this card. For 4 mana, it's a sorcery. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. If the spell was cast from your graveyard, you may play those cards, without paying their mana cost. Freaking Nat, my bad. Without paying their mana cost. Flashback for 8 mana. You may cast this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost, then exile it. The reason why this card is good is because, let's say, you have that fire breathing technique, right? You got a Hail Mary card. You tap a red and tap X to give Evereth Viceroy +7/+7, something like that, right? So you reveal it, it's exiled, and on your next turn you go to combat, baby. You go to combat, and that player sees it. Ooh, they're gonna be hating on you because you made Evereth a 14/14. You swinging 14 damage. You use your little sacrifice outlet, such as like something alter, and you do 14 damage to each opponent. Oh, you win the game. You win the game. Also, for 8 mana, do you not know how powerful that is to pay 8 mana and possibly play 3 spells that have expensive mana costs? Let's say for 6 mana each. That's a total of 18 CMC. If you paid 8 mana to play 18 CMC worth spells, you should win the game. Or you should be very ahead. But in Rakdos, you're winning the game. You're winning the game. You're trying to see more cards and you're playing more cards. This is a must add. Late game, hurrah, win the game. Thank you for making this far to the video. If you liked it, go ahead and subscribe. If you like Evereth, it's probably because you're a Rakdos player or you're new to vampires. and you need a vampire tribal type of deck. This is good because it has red in the combination of black. So that way you got a nice pace, you got a nice tempo when you're playing with this commander. You're not strictly restricted to mono black where you gotta sacrifice something to gain something. You got red in there to loot, put stuff in your graveyard, sacrifice something to gain 2 cards, gain 1 cards, to deal burn damage, to deal more damage. That's why she's good. And she flies. This is a really good commander for a beginning type of player, especially if you're into Vampire Tribal. Otherwise, check her out. Check out any of these videos. They're perfect for you. I'm sticking with all the MTG Foundation commanders. Let me know if anything you did or didn't like. Peace.